Hyatt and American Airlines have a status match. I'm going to talk about my bucket list stuff. Mark had an unexpected thing happen. I don't know what it is. All of that coming up right now on MTM Travel.
Cutting stuff off of cars at midnight. Good stuff.
So, welcome to the week, Mark. Another fun one happening. Do you want to tell your story now? You want to save it for the end of the podcast? How's it going?
I mean, we can get into it now. I'm here at home because of it. So I had planned to stay up at the cottage. It's a beautiful day today. So I was like, oh, let's take one more day. It's going to rain Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll head home Monday night with the kids. And last night at like 9 o'clock, I looked at the kids. They had set up the Switch Sports or whatever outside on the picnic table with the TV we're playing. I looked at them and I said, all right, we got to pack everything up. We got to go. We're heading home. So packed up the whole house, loaded up the car and headed home. Got home at like 10:30. All because, does this always seem to happen to you? It happens to us. I don't know, but like I bought a new car for my wife, our new to us car for my wife for our 20th year anniversary. So then we're gonna sell the old one that she had, and of course, like all these little things went wrong like 2 days before we're supposed to, show it to a friend for his daughter.
Yeah, I've had that happen in the past with a car as well. And there's all like a car that's older that things could happen, or there's things you're watching, and then yeah, everything just goes wrong right before you're about to get rid of it. You buried the lead. Are you going to talk about the car that you bought, or are you just going to leave that
No,
off the?
I
off
mean,
the
if your
show?
friends,
Okay.
if your friends on Facebook, you saw, but no, like I got a really good deal, 2018, luxury type car. But we ended up, so last week, me and the kids went to every different thing in our price range that we could find. We went and looked at like 7 or 8 of them, and I was about to give up. And then there was one that appeared. I expanded the search a little bit, and there's one that appeared in Ann Arbor, which was like an hour away. And this was on like a Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And I was like, all right, we got to go now, because if we don't leave now, we're going to get stuck in bad traffic both ways. We drove over there, test drove it. And I'm like, hey, this is a good deal. Can we wrap it up today? And we weren't able to get it all done that day. So then I had to fight back through traffic and then Uber back down the next day. It was like this whole mess. The rear view mirror isn't, needed some work done. They were supposed to do it, but they couldn't. So I had to get a glass company in to do that. And it was all just kind of like, it was a week of just like craziness. And then, I'm waiting for these guys to show up. And I had planned this like trick on my wife with the car. I was like, all right, they're going to show up. They're going to work on this. I'm giving up. And then at like 4:45, they're like, oh, we can't make it today. We'll come tomorrow. So I'm like, crap. Kids, get in the car. We're driving to your mom's work to pull off this surprise now.
Sounds fun. I think the worst part of the story for you, just knowing you for so many years, is that you had to go to Ann Arbor, knowing
Yes.
how much that you don't like Ann Arbor, and then had to go multiple times.
Yeah. I showed up and they're like, hey, we couldn't reattach it. So I go to the dealer of I bought it from like a Chevy dealer or whatever that just had a trade in. And I go to the actual dealer and they're like, oh no, you're gonna have to replace the whole glass. Like you can't really, these mirrors are heavy. You can't replace them. Like, I'm not spending a couple grand replacing glass on a car I just bought. So no, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna try this for, why wouldn't I not try to like re-glue the thing it attaches to, have somebody professional come out and do it. It costs like $100. I'm going to try that. And then if it doesn't work, okay, maybe I'll buy a new windshield, but I'm not going to just jump right to it. And that's how dealerships are, like, oh, you don't have our parts. It's not going to work. You need to spend extra money to do it our way, type of crap. So anyway, we drive over to her work. I brought the keys to her car and then pulled her car out, parked it in a different area of the parking lot, left the new car there. And then we like hid behind a bush and waited for her to come out and like look confused and think she parked somewhere else and stuff. I don't know if you ever watched the episode where the mom calls the cops because she parked in a different part of the parking lot, and ends up finding it like a week later because she goes out a different door and she's like, oh, I just parked it over here.
Yeah, that's vaguely familiar. I love that show.
Yeah, so that was kind of like our plan. We're playing a joke. She was looking around and then she saw the car was parked where it was, so she like went to go look at the back of the license plate to see if it was her license plate, but it wasn't because we didn't do a trade in at the time. And so we pop out of the bushes, walk up to her, and she's like, no, but where's my car? I'm like, this is your car. No, but where's my car? Because she still had her stuff in it. I'm like, all right, calm down. This isn't the reaction we were hoping for.
Marriage in a nutshell, right? You all the build up and you think it's going to be great, and this is an amazing present. It's a beautiful vehicle too. I've seen a picture of it, and I'm sure she was happy with all that. But yeah, you don't get that payoff in the moment. But it's shocking though. You threw her off, like you're not expecting
Yeah.
that, and it's so funny how priorities would be different, because we would probably just be jumping inside driving and not even thinking about our stuff or the actual logistics of it all.
Yeah, I don't care about my other car. Who cares? I want to take this one out. Like, let's go. And that's the difference between a guy or girl or people that like cars and people that are just like, hey, it gets me from point A to point B. I don't know. So, once she got into it, I think she really enjoyed it. And then we had to let it sit over the weekend to let that glue dry and everything. So she hasn't really been able to take it out or do anything. And I think she's chomping at the bit to do that. But anyway, so like the same day, and we had planned on, okay, let's, use this, her old car to drive longer trips for a couple months, and then we'll sell it when the winter comes around. And a buddy just posted, "Hey, we're looking for a car for my daughter for her 16th year birthday, an SUV, something decent." And I was like, "Hey, I have a pretty nice one. It still only has like 88,000 miles, even though it's a 2012. It's just we bought it with really low miles in 2019. We didn't put a ton on it." So I'm like, it's in really good shape. It's got a one dent on the outside from a tree limb, but everything else is fairly clean, and it runs really well. So he's like, okay, yeah, let's meet up on Tuesday. And of course, over the weekend, like this light comes on, that light comes on, the rear wiper like stops working. So we pop the cap off, thinking maybe just tighten the bolt or whatever, and it had cracked. So I spent like an hour trying to get this arm, the arm to the wiper off. Finally get it off, order a new one. She goes home Sunday for work on Monday. And I'm like, all right, yeah, just let me know if it fits properly. And she's like, oh no, it doesn't fit because this other metal piece is still on the bolt or on the screw, the thread. And I thought that was like a part of the motor, and you just slid the new one on over top of it. No, that was a part of the wiper that was like galvanized from rust or salt or whatever on there. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna drive me nuts. I only have like one day to get out all this stuff fixed or taken care of. So I'm like, I'm coming home tonight. So at midnight last night, after trying a whole bunch of things, WD-40, all this stuff, pulling it, nothing's working, wrenching it, doesn't work. So I'm like, I'm just gonna cut it off. So at midnight, I have like a headlamp on, a power extension cord going out the length of the driveway, trying to keep it away so it's not too loud. And I'm just cutting with a Dremel. I'm cutting into this nut, hoping I don't break the glass, mess up the paint, or chop off the thread or anything. Just sitting there cutting it. We finally popped it off, put the new wiper on. It was fixed. That sweet relief of, okay, we did it.
Yeah, I didn't mess this up, but too bad. All you wanted to do was give a nice present and then see how it all just unfolded from there.
Yeah, and as we were driving back when we purchased it and it didn't work out, it stopped and got pizza. It's stuck in traffic all over. There's construction everywhere. Pizza grease drips on my pants, ruins my pants. Like all this stuff goes wrong in that day. And I'm like, kids, have you ever heard of like no good deed goes unpunished? And they're like, no, that sounds like something a grandpa would say. And I was like, well, that's what's happening. And it's continued to happen for a week now.
Yeah, grandpas say it because they've lived life and they've had it happen. This is a perfect example of it, of no good deed goes unpunished. So it's life lessons for the kids, and it proves that you really love your wife, because going through all that. And I have a 25th wedding anniversary coming up next year, and now I'm going to look bad. I'm not going to tell Jasmine about this because I don't want her expecting a new car.
Yeah, I mean, and then my wife gave me my present last night, and it was a watercolor painting of the cottage, our place we love most in the world, and really well done from a photo and stuff. Really cool. We're gonna hang it up there. So that just goes to show the difference between the two people. Like hers is a really thoughtful gift, and mine is like, oh, I want something really cool for you, even though I don't know if you're gonna like it or not. This is stuff my dad would do. He'd bring home a car to my mom, and she'd be like, I didn't want that, and then he ends up driving it. So I was like, I texted my parents. I'm like, I'm pulling Steve O, my dad. I don't know if I'm gonna get divorced or this is gonna end up being my car or what. We'll see what she says.
Yeah, that is hilarious. A beautiful thoughtful painting versus a. I think most, yeah, I like the car. So what am I going to say? I'm on the wrong side of this. I don't get the other side. I think it's a beautiful gesture and a beautiful thing altogether. Speaking of cars, before we go into the travel and all the other stuff, because we do have talked about car leasing on the show and financing. The car lease tax credits are ending at the end of September, or not lease, but for purchasing a car, also leasing $7,500 that you could get for that. And it's creating this interesting situation where tariffs are kicking in now. I've been looking for deals, so I've been debating whether I'm going to buy a car to replace my old Tesla just because of the tax credit going away. And the smart financial decision is not to do it. I own the Tesla outright. We had to replace the motor last year, which was quite expensive. So driving it for a few more years would be good. Believe it or not, Mark, 10 years on, it still gets all the updates. It doesn't have full self-driving, but I still get updates every month. But if people are out there, this is the time to kind of look at to see if you're into a vehicle, electric vehicle, to see if you can get it in the next month, month and a half. And I wouldn't wait till the end of September because it's probably easier to get a better deal now than it would be the last few days of September when everybody's rushing in there. And unfortunately, I think the ship has sort of sailed. It seems like most of the best deals ended in the last couple of months, and they're kind of raising prices, or they're not offering as good of incentives because they know people are going to go out and buy before this goes away.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, should I dump any car stock I have, if this goes away? Because this has been propping up the electric vehicle category for a while now, and then tariffs and everything else. It's like, interesting to see, will it start to go down, or does it? I mean, stock market doesn't always make sense to me anyway. So, but this is the same type of thing, not a smart decision. The car we bought has just a few less miles, like 10,000 miles less than the car we're getting rid of, and it's never had any problems besides these little things lately. But it rides perfectly fine. Like, I feel guilty getting rid of it because it's such a good car, but neither one of the kids wants to drive it when they turn 16 because it's a big three-row SUV. So I'm like, okay, they don't want it. I don't have space to like keep it anywhere. I would love to keep it because it's such a good deal. But that's why I'm kind of excited. Somebody I know buying it. One, you're always nervous about that because if something happens, they're going to blame you. But two, I feel better like, hey, I'll give you guys a good deal on this, but I know it's going somewhere that, will not take care of it. But like, it just feels like it's a better value versus just selling to a dealer or whatever. I don't feel so bad about it. I was going to try to give it to my nephew or have my sister buy it, but he's still like a year and a half away from driving. So they don't have anywhere to put it or anything. So just timing was bad. But yeah, the smart decision would have been to drive it to those wheels pop off because we've had it paid off for several years now, and it's a perfectly good car, but it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. I have a Rivian, so I completely understand about not the smartest decision. Do your best with it, but it is what it is. But yeah, if you're looking to get an electric car, probably now's the time. It'll be really interesting in the market to see what happens when those go away and how that adjusts prices and how the market kind of adjusts for itself over time with that. But we'll be hearing a lot about cars, and we don't need to talk more about that. This week I went to Adventure Dome this last weekend with Ellie, and we went there on her second birthday, and it was, her birthday celebration. So I have videos all over the place of her at 2 years old.
Just to try to find that theater, didn't you?
No, because I knew I wouldn't be able to figure out where it would be. I did look, but look to try to figure out where the entrance would be to that theater. But it was the last weekend of their half off. So instead of $60 for a ticket, it was $30. So it made sense. And we went with my buddy Dave. But there was this one spot where you walk into the parking garage where I have a video of her walking at 2 years old. And I just, as we were walking into that area, I remembered that video and I took out my camera and filmed it again at her at 10 years old now. And it's a little melancholy. And I think this goes in with traveling, especially people in this community who travel a lot, meaning that you might go back to the same places spread over periods of time to see the growth of your children. And, this is local to us, but it was a nice video, but it also made me a little depressed because that little girl is growing up so fast.
Yeah, and they used to like love us a lot more when they were little and needed us, and now independent, pushing back, all that stuff. So you kind of you long for those times, but when you're in those times, you wanted to be in these times where they're wiping their own butts and and making their own food and all that. But yeah, I get that too because we spend every summer we spend as much time as we can up at the lake, and Facebook or my phone or whatever is always like, hey, 4 years ago, this is where you were, three years ago, and you see like the differences in them, and you know that the number, the years are numbered for where you get to experience this. Like they say you get 18 years, but you really probably only get 15 or 16. Once they can drive, they're going to be doing stuff or working, and you're not going to see them very much.
And as you point out, both of us at this point with our kids are kind of past the little cute kid stage, and so they're more human beings and fighting back and kind of making their own ways into the world. Although it was just pure joy spending the day with her there, and had a great time. We went on the teacups ride, which is a small teacups ride, but it didn't have any control on the spinning, meaning that you could just spin it as fast as you possibly could, and it went like 2-3 minutes. So I hadn't done this in a while, and I wasn't sure how I would survive it, but I just went all out on the spinning just as fast as we could. I just focused on the tip of her nose the whole time, just the tip of her nose. Got off. I stumbled a little bit, then I was fine. So there's a tip, a pro tip.
How many times are we going to say tip in this segment?
Just the tip, baby. Just the tip.
No, I mean, it's funny, like when you ride rides versus in your 20s to now, it hits you like a whole different. I could probably not handle that. I can barely handle riding in the back of a car anymore. I get a little bit queasy. So it's crazy how your body changes and your equilibrium or whatever the reason is, how much things feel different. Like you used to be able to go, what was it, the Gravitron, where it would spin at a fair and the floor would drop out and you would stick to the wall. I used to ride that over and over and over again as like a 15-year-old, and now I would barf all over myself.
Yeah, those Gravitrons always messed me up even when I was younger. I mean, I could handle it, but it would mess me up like for the rest of the day. I'm sure now, like you said, I would probably, I wouldn't even, no, thank you. Anything that sticks me to the wall, anything where I'm taking, multiple G forces. But yeah, that was good. Circus, that was fun. I have a lot to say on the Vegas show about the Adventure Dome and how it's looking. It's looking great. I'll just tell you like that, looking shockingly great. So happy to see that. But it was a fun weekend, and thinking about some upcoming travels with our cruises and some other stuff we have going. I got China I have China in like a month, Mark, and I have no hotels planned. We're just finalizing the itinerary there. Not a big deal, but there's some promotions here. Do you want to talk about Chase has, what is it, for Aeroplan? You can save 5,000. This is kind of a unique thing where you get a certificate and you're saving 5,000 miles in your account if you're a Sapphire Reserve card holder. Have we ever seen anything like this before?
I mean, I feel like maybe one off here and there, and for other cards, maybe not so much for the Sapphire Reserve. And it's weird because Aeroplan has their own card with Chase. You would think if they're going to give it to anybody, it would be those card holders, but maybe Chase is covering a chunk of this freight here. I don't know, but it was kind of just random. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Nobody knows. I don't even remember like an announcement about it. Just kind of like somebody found it or maybe got an email and it went from there. But yeah, you can sign up and you get this certificate that will give you 5,000 points off or 5,000 miles off a future booking, your next booking. I think you get a year to use it. There's still a few days left, like I think through the end of the week to sign up. You just need to plug in the last 4 digits of your card number, and then it can take like 14 days to send it to you. But I think this is kind of unique, and I love when they do things like this. We talked about the United award sale that was for card holders. I think they do that usually once a year, something along those lines. But these unexpected perks that aren't in the terms, you're not guaranteed, but they just come along and you're like, oh, okay, that was a perk of having that card. Sometimes an Amex offer or a Chase offer feels like that. If you get one specific to like the Amex Platinum card, $50 off of Lowe's, and you go buy an Amazon gift card, you're like, holy crap, that was saving me $50 off my annual fee that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I always like these types of things, and Aeroplan's a very useful program, so I think people are pretty excited about it.
Yeah, Aeroplan has a lot of transfer partners, so you can get miles in there easily in order to use this and top up on top of it. And I'm just thinking back, it's a program I've probably used every single year going back a long time, like maybe one booking a year, but I've used it consistently for a long period of time. So to your point, this is probably free miles in the bank, and it doesn't hurt to do it. I hope more, I like this. Let's see more of it.
Yeah, and Aeroplan is, I don't know if a lot of people know this unless you're like super into the space, but they have the most airline partners of any airline. I think it's like 60 or 70, something crazy like that. So you don't even have to, most people use the miles to fly partners. I don't think anybody's like, hey, let's go on Air Canada anywhere. So it's crazy. And that's what we booked to go from Detroit to Turkey on Turkish Airlines. Used Aeroplan with 70,000 miles one way in business, and this would have made it 65K. It's a really good deal if you can take advantage of it.
It's funny when you start kind of traveling a lot and you probably have an idea of what the airlines are in the US, but you see some of these foreign airlines and, like British Airways, you think they're kind of fancy and stuffy. And maybe if you fly up front, they can be, but not really a fancy and stuffy airline. Air Canada, I always had these thoughts of it being this sort of premium friendly airline, right? Canadians are friendly. It is the least friendly airline. It is just one of my least favorite airlines in the entire world. I have never had just a good experience. Frontier, much better than Air Canada. But yeah, so I don't know if any airline has ever, not matched up to what I thought. Etihad was a close second. I found their service to not be great after hearing all of the Middle East carrier sort of stuff. Yeah, Air Canada, nobody wants to fly them. I'm sorry if you love Air Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard anybody profess love for it, but I've only flown them once, and it was to St. John's in Newfoundland. So connected in Toronto. We're hanging out in Toronto waiting to board the flight, and people start freaking out at the gate. And we're like, what's going on? And they did a product change, and it had like 40 less seats. And they're just like, hey, you 40 people aren't getting on this flight. And it was like chaos.
Yeah, my first ever Air Canada flight was a regional jet flying out of Detroit, believe it or not, going to Toronto. So just think about how short of a flight that really is. And they let us taxi out, and then they said that we couldn't take off for some reason. And there was something with the airline. It wasn't the airport, and there was no air conditioning on the plane during the taxi. So we were sitting in a tiny regional jet baking out in the middle of the Detroit summer sun for like 2 hours before we finally took off. And I've never seen an airplane so close to mutiny. I understand, like, sometimes when passengers go crazy, because on this plane, I was going crazy. I would have never been the one to do a mutiny, but I was angry, and everybody else was even worse. It was miserable. And then I've had several other experiences that aren't quite as bad as that, but yeah, I'm never rushing out of my way to go fly them. But Aeroplan, great program.
Yeah, it's just funny that way that it works that way. And I think, Alaska is kind of that way. People do like Alaska Airlines, but I don't think most people collect the miles for Alaska. Usually their deals are pretty bad on their own metal. So, there's these ones that you just kind of like stash for other airlines. And the Air Canada Aeroplan might be the biggest of them all.
So staying kind of on airlines and also our favorite hotel company to talk about, Hyatt and American Airlines, they've had their partnership for quite a few years now. I want to say 5-6 years. It's been a long time. And over the years, they've had various levels of status matches, and it's gotten better over the years too with the reciprocal perks. And it's really grown into, I think, a pretty strong partnership. And they're offering status matches again, right?
Yeah, it seems like they do this once a year in the summertime, so pretty standard. And I think you have had to not taken advantage of it in the last 24 months to have a chance to be targeted. They are targeted. A lot of people get these offers. And it's like if you have upper tier status with Hyatt, then you get a match or an offer for American and vice versa. So you for American, you want to check your American Airlines account, just go in the promotions section if you have Hyatt status, see what's in there. I think the lower tier Hyatt statuses get matched to gold or platinum, and then Globalist, I think, gets platinum pro. So you get like 3 months of status, and then you get also a challenge with American Airlines where you can spend to keep it. And that's the stuff I talked about. I took advantage of this last year, and we talked about it a couple months ago, how I almost missed it because they weren't settling the February spend on time and stuff. But they ended up figuring out I still have platinum pro status because of that. You had to hit so many loyalty points. You can work your way up to executive platinum once you do the match and you get the challenge. If you spend enough, you get on that executive platinum or earn it through miles or however you want to do it, shopping portal stuff. You have a chance to do that, but then you have to do it each and every quarter. So you want to shoot for the highest you can possibly get the first quarter, because once you, like, if you just spend or earn enough for Platinum Pro that first phase, then that's the highest you can get for the next two phases to keep longer term. But where if you get Executive Platinum, you have that for phase two, but if you spend or earn less and you get Platinum Pro, then you can still do Platinum Pro for phase three. So it's like shoot for the moon, the first phase, and then do your best the next two phases, but give yourself that opportunity, I would say.
The hamster wheel of status, just keep running as hard as you can and hope you get it. I do get jealous with this because I know I've had status with AA quite a few times over the years. I think I've had executive platinum 4 different times from matches, and then platinum and gold in various levels over the years. And every time I see one of these things, I get excited. I get FOMO for other people. But then I look back and like, how often did you actually use that status when you had it? Just because of where I live and I don't fly them all that often. But I have actually this year flown a couple of American flights that the seats would have been better. You know, even if I didn't get an upgrade, where being able to choose the seats would have been nice. And coming back from Athens earlier this summer, so it did. You know, it would have come in handy. So I'm not targeted though. So I guess I have to wait another year. It's been a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, I found their status to be pretty beneficial. I had Delta Platinum for a couple years, and I would lean towards Platinum Pro at American Airlines being better. You get to pick the Comfort Plus or extra legroom seats at the time of booking, which is nice. And even if you're booking with Alaska Miles, you can add your AA locator number there or your frequent flyer number after the fact, and then still get your status perks, which is kind of cool. A lot of people are booking American Airlines with Alaska Miles, so that's nice that they have that partnership and you can make that work. Taking advantage of it, gotten upgraded to first a couple times. It just seems to be, I've been flying American about as equal as I've been flying Delta lately. If I don't have a nonstop decent price flight on Delta, then I'll fly American with a connection, because if I'm going to connect on Delta or American, usually American's cheaper miles, whether it be with American Miles or Alaska Miles. So I do that. But yeah, we've been doing fairly well with it. I don't know that I'm going to chase it again next year. I'll just book into the class of service I want if I need to, if I want an upgrade, things like that. But it's been fun. And, it was somewhat free. Got it mostly through credit card spend. And that's how it started. Like, I had signed up for the business card, I believe, and I was going to have a whole bunch of things hit right after I did the status match. So I just kept going with it because I had already triggered phase one just through the trying to get the sign up bonus and stuff like that. But going the other way, American to Hyatt status isn't as interesting to me, because when they did the milestone, they took all the perks of the status out of the actual name of the status. So unless you have globalist where you're guaranteed the breakfast and everything, all their other status is junk.
Yeah, it's not great.
Remember back in the day when you would get Explorer status from a match, from like MGM and stuff, you would get the lounge access certs and things like that. But when they broke them out, there's like no point in matching to it. I wouldn't even waste my time.
And you point out you get it through credit card spend. There's a lot of people in the community that do this, that get their AA status through spend. So this, not just you, there's a lot of people who have taken advantage of the hamster wheel, and they're getting a lot of value out of it like you are. So if it's somebody who's kind of sitting there thinking, well, should I do this, or is it something I should pursue? It is something that a lot of people have found value in, status wise, and all the perks and, spending and all of the ecosystem around loyalty points and everything. It's a very in-depth subject for a lot of people, but there's a lot of crazies, AA crazies. This was the most brilliant thing that they ever did when they changed their program, switching it over to loyalty points and this whole new scheme that they've ushered in.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Delta, and they kind of want to do the same thing, but they made it difficult and confusing, and everybody freaked out about it. So it's kind of annoying. But I'll say, to your point, if you fly American, 5 times a year or less or something like that, don't even consider it. Like, there's no point. If you can push more bookings to there, maybe. But we see this with Hyatt too. People hear about Globalist and how amazing it is. It's a great status. But if you're staying in Hyatt hotels like 10 nights a year, and a couple of those are at Hyatt places or low-end hotels, there's no point chasing it. Use your points to book a lounge access room or a suite, something along those lines. Eat breakfast off property. It's not that big of a deal. But we see people spend all this money to earn global status for like a 1 6-night stay. And it's like, you would have spent less money, or you would have earned better on a 2% back card, and you could have just paid for your freaking breakfast.
But it feels good when they welcome you as a globalist. I mean, I remember the first time that ever happened as a Diamond member in Hawaii, and that was off of a status match. And here I am a decade later, still with top tier Hyatt status, even though I'll never have lifetime status because I don't spend enough money. I've talked about that on previous shows. So, be loyal as long as it makes sense for you. So back to like China, just a little bit of my trip planning stuff.
You finally
still have no flight
coming
back.
All Accor or what?
Not yet. We're still, because we don't have the areas. Well, because you think about it, we're going to Seoul and we're going to Shanghai, and so these are like 2 of the biggest cities you could possibly imagine. So trying to figure out the itinerary first before I figure out what area of the city and then what chain. So I won't be specific. I'll probably stay in some Hyatts, but I would rather be closer to where we need to be than to worry about a brand. I have Hilton, Marriott. There's a lot of nice hotels in China, a lot of newer hotels. So I'm not as worried about it. But it's just crazy to think. I used to go to China all the time before COVID, flew there at least once a year, sometimes a couple times a year, just to see the award space. And it has never come back. I mean, award space to China just has not come back. I imagine, and I haven't studied this in depth, but the frequency of flights just isn't there compared to what it was a few years ago. But as of now, no way, no way to get home. I mean, economy, sure, economy all day long. There's a million options. But I did look for like this coming week to say, okay, is last minute stuff coming open? And I found a couple options. And I'm still debating when my friend Dave leaves whether I'm going to stay in China for a few more days. I might go to Tokyo for a couple days just to do Disneyland by myself. I might go down to Hong Kong for a couple days. So that might determine, I might do that based on where I can find a flight back home from, like a nice, cool, interesting flight. But yeah, it's tough out there with China. I've been looking at China flights for a while, and it just seems like the award space just isn't there most of the time.
Yeah, you're getting me stressed out about my Colombia flights. Even though I'm like 10 months out, I hate when I can't find stuff and you're just kind of waiting for it to open. And I look at May and like Wednesday for the flights home, like Wednesday to Sunday or Wednesday to Saturday, every week in May has 12K savers for economy coming home on American. And I'm like, all right. And then you go to June and everything's 100K for, and you're just waiting. I thought, okay, once we hit like August, it will drop back down. Nope, it's still like that. So I don't know if just June's more expensive or I'm going to get screwed, but I'm just sitting here waiting and hoping.
I think you'll be fine. I think I've told the story before, but when Dave and I did our China coaster trip back in 2017, he flew home. And then my plan, I didn't have a flight home. And my plan was to fly Cathay first home. And because Cathay at that time, very consistently, they were releasing first class space within a few days. And it always happened. And I had flown them many times doing that. And it never happened for that trip. I just was in Hong Kong and nothing opened up. And my backup, it was a tough life I had to live. My backup was flying Emirates first from Hong Kong to Dubai to Los Angeles,
Oh boy.
getting 2 showers in the sky. So it was a
bad.
tough time. Well, and it killed me at that time. It was 150,000 Alaska miles for that, but it had just recently devalued. It used to be 100,000. So I remember 150,000, and I was so pissed that I was spending that much. And then just think now, how the years have changed and how much everything costs with these awards and varying pricing and all of that.
Yeah, but back then it was like 25K for a Bank of America sign up bonus.
Yeah, that's true. And I didn't, but hey, I would been saving those Alaska miles for such a thing. And to this day, it's the only time I've ever flown Emirates. So it worked out pretty good. And I'm not really too worried about it. Like I said, there's tons of economy. And one of these days I'm going to get stuck flying economy home. I mean, I flew economy home from Europe with the family, but I think with one ticket, I'll be able to figure this out.
Asia's a whole different ball game though, man.
Yeah. Japan is a lot easier though, because both ANA and JAL tend to release a lot of last minute space. So I might just go pop over to Tokyo for a few days and then fly home. But
I mean, you could fly Hawaiian and just go to Hawaii for a day or two too.
Yeah, I could fly on the Honu. I mean, I'd love that airplane. So yeah, maybe that's a good idea, Mark. I'll have to look into that. Go hang out in Honolulu and do that. I don't know, but I'm excited for that. I did screw up something with my passport, and I don't want to admit this publicly, but I need to renew my passport before I go to China, and I'm getting that done today. I thought that I could do.
Did you say I don't want to admit this publicly, but you just admitted it publicly?
Well, here's what I had a whole plan, and I was procrastinating, and this is my fault, but I had a whole plan in that I was going to do it online. I knew I could, and I was just going to pay the rush fee or whatever. Well, apparently, when you renew your passport online, you cannot pay the rush fee, so you just have to do a normal. That can take up to 6 weeks. So I guess I'm going to do that. The good thing is, so I need my old passport. So if I was to go to the post office right now and do a rush or something, I'd have to send my old passport in, and that has my Chinese visa in it. And so the old passport doesn't normally come back with the new passport. It comes back weeks later. So I think I'm going to just have to do this online, pray that the new passport comes. And if it doesn't, I'm going to have to go down to LA before the trip and get a same day sort of passport. So this was my fault for waiting too long. I just thought I could do the expedited thing, and I guess I can't. And I don't want to send my old passport in because I don't want to lose the visa. So this will be an interesting thing. Let's just hope. I got like 5 weeks. Let's hope that it comes in time.
I remember when we did the kids, it came pretty quick. It was like 2-3 weeks, so it wasn't too long. We did it at the post office. We didn't pay for a rush. And when I did my wife's online, I think it was around the same time. So I think you might be okay. They seem to be a bit quicker with it. I know you've done the same day before. I forget if it was you or Jasmine, but I remember the article. I think it was in like Miami or something that you guys realized you needed to do it like the day of travel or whatever.
That's another embarrassing story. Actually, we had a we were going to Atlantis in the Bahamas, and we had an overnight layover in Fort Lauderdale. So I just booked us into Fort Lauderdale, stay in a hotel. That way, it's just difficult to get to the Bahamas at any certain point. So we had an early morning flight on JetBlue from down to the Bahamas. And that morning I woke up and just in my head, something like came into my head. I said, Jasmine, is your passport not expired or is it going to, and she hadn't looked at it. And I guess it fell on me. I'm the travel guy. I'm the travel planning guy. I should have done that, even though it was her passport. And luckily we were in Miami. So we called JetBlue and they were able to put us on the last flight to Nassau so that we had like the day in Miami. And we went down to the passport office, got her the same day passport, and ended up getting into Atlantis at like midnight instead of like, I don't know, in the morning or the afternoon like we were supposed to. So it didn't work out too bad, but you'd be amazed how many people are getting same day passports or last minute passports. I mean, just packed in there.
I'm kind of tempted to just, if I had one near me, I don't know if Detroit has one or not. But if I did just book like a flight to Mexico on Southwest or something with points, go down there, get your passport, then cancel the flight.
I mean, it's an interesting experience. There's just a lot of waiting around and in Miami. And this was several years ago, so I don't know if they've changed the way they do it or maybe they've made it a little bit better. But it was just like get a number. It was like the DMV basically. And it was a good 3-4 hour wait, I think, before they processed it. And then once they processed it, I want to say it was a few hours. Anyway, we were there till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon to when they basically closed the doors. And then we were like the last bit to get it. And then, on the plane and on our way. But yeah, it's cool. A lot of people don't know that you can do that. So it's not something to worry about. We don't have one in Vegas, so I would have to go to LA. It would be a big mess. But I guess that's what I get for procrastinating. If I didn't need the old passport, the actual physical visa in the old passport, I would worry a lot less. I just go to the post office, do expedited, but I do need that old passport. So that's why.
Yeah. I mean, the things we do for travel. And you didn't want
It's all fun.
good thing you're cutting all this out so you don't admit it publicly.
If I had $1 for every idiotic thing that I didn't want to admit publicly that I did, here I am just for you guys, just admitting all of the faults and the errors. So here's the last thing. I had to stop before we started recording, and it's not going to be a long topic or anything, but what bucket list thing, like I was thinking back to when I was young and like all the things I had wanted to do travel wise, what do I have left? And is there anything else like the young you, the person that like was dreaming, not like your current bucket list, but what sort of things do you have left on that list?
I mean, I didn't really think that I would ever do international travel much, not like Europe or anything like that growing up. That just seemed like something that the rich and famous did. And, Italy was always on there, but we did that. And just that type of stuff. Like I just never thought that part of the world, like Mexico, sure, Canada for, yeah, I, did that at a younger age, but Caribbean, Hawaii even felt a little bit out of reach for most. So it was kind of a big deal if somebody went to Hawaii back then. Seems way less like a big deal now. So yeah, I don't think there's anything on my list from when I was younger. One thing I would love to recreate is the trip now is the trip that I had to cancel because of COVID, and that was the Chernobyl Ukraine trip, which who knows if, when that will ever be possible, if it will be possible. But I was really interested to, one, go to Ukraine, check that out, and then also go to Chernobyl and kind of see that area and just see like a civilization, frozen in time a bit, and be around the area. So I'm still holding out hope, that maybe one day, but that's the big what if trip of my life, at least.
Yeah, I was thinking for myself, I think just like you, I didn't have big grand dreams of traveling the world when I was little. It just didn't seem possible. In fact, I have like a big memory of watching The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio
Yeah.
and seeing him in that hostel in Bangkok and how exotic. I mean, remember the hostel where it was just like
I
the
watched
dollar
that movie
hostel.
so many times. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like that world didn't exist. There was just no possibility that I was ever going to be in a hostel in Bangkok or at those beaches. And I do remember when I actually went to Thailand for the first time and I went to the beach there, just how realization that was like, oh, wow, I could do this, but I don't have any long dreams. I mean, I think things like the pyramids are high on my list. I've probably canceled or tried to work the pyramids into like 8 trips over the years that never, including the one this summer, and it just doesn't work out for me. So it's like how much of a priority. But I also wanted to bring this up just because I think it's always good to have things on the table, and you're going to die with something on the table that you want to see, hopefully a long time from now for both of us. But I'm more okay with like just leaving the thing out there. If I never see the pyramids, will my life be complete? I think so. I think that that's more where I am now, where there are places I want to go. Antarctica is probably the highest on my current bucket list, but yeah, I think this is the big things, the Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall of China. When I saw those things in person, those icons, they weren't places I had dreamt of going, but they were these icons of the world. It was like it was very deeply meaningful to me, I think, and helped with that. But yeah, I think leaving something on the table is just as powerful as well.
I think I've never been like one. I just like experiences. So like going to places isn't. I just if I go to a place, I kind of want to find a fun experience, and so I look at. I think I travel a bit different than you, or I look at traveling a bit different than you. So I think my main focus now going forward is going to be giving the kids or experiencing that with them, whatever their travel bucket list is. Like I know Connor really wants to go to Japan and he wants to go to South Korea, which you're going to probably knock off pretty soon here, potentially both of them. But I know that's high on his list, so I want to experience that with him, and I think that will be the cool thing. Like, yes, I want to see both things, but they're not like, oh, I have to see these, but I want to see his expression and have that shared memory. So I think that's where I'm more focusing. And then, Charlotte always wanted to go to Paris, or that's what she said. So we happen to be going there for Thanksgiving this year. So we're going to get that, and we'll see if it lives up to what I don't think she really knows. I think she just said, because that, hey, girls like Paris, so I should probably want to go to Paris. I don't know that she's ever really looked into Paris, where Connor for sure is one that has like probably researched this and like, I want to go here, here, and here when I'm there. She's more me. He's probably more you.
I mean, I like to go to a lot of amusement parks though and have fun. And I used to feel very guilty about, oh, I'm going into the city and now I'm going to a theme park instead of spending time doing other things. And then I think over years I felt guilty about that. So maybe I did more boring stuff just to sort of like round out the culture. I don't know. And now I feel less worried about it. But I think you're absolutely right with the kids and experiencing it through them. And just like I talked about the teacups and just the joy of that moment, because she loves rides and she loved that. And like I wasn't spinning the teacup because I wanted to go around and get dizzy. I knew how much joy she would get. And Dave just happened to take a picture of me and it was just pure joy. And it's like, oh, those are the moments, and doing those with your kids and watching them open up to all of that. And yeah, I can't wait to hear your takes as you take the kids more internationally and they get to experience more of that. And obviously my daughter, I took her a lot internationally, and now she's kind of the opposite. Mark is she doesn't really.
Now she's on the bench.
She likes Japan. Yeah, she is on the bench officially. Of course not, but we are going to do a cruise with her again later this year to see how it does. We're going to book that free princess cruise that we earned while we were on the last cruise. But yeah, she's been maybe overexposed a little bit, and then having the opposite problem, and maybe that's an issue as well. Like, it's good to have something special, and that Paris and Japan and all that. And when it's just something that's given to you from when you're born and it's just always there, it's not as special.
Yeah, I think finding balance is a big problem in this space with us and with the people listening out there. Is not only finding balance of with your kids, but yourself. Like finding, do I need to go on this trip, or is this asking too much of me? Am I spending too many times away? Am I missing other things? And we all love travel, but we've talked a couple times about this over the years of just like exhaustion, fatigue from it. Sometimes it's nice to just be home or go back to the same place that you're familiar with, and things, not feeling that FOMO to drive you. And it's a thing that you have to kind of reconcile with yourself on a regular basis of, is this the best, or am I just doing this because I feel like I should? And then, kind of come to be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people out there listening would, if they were honest, were like, you know what, maybe we should skip that and just do this, and it's just too much, and I'm exhausted. We're angry because we're exhausted while we're on these trips. It's it's a juggling act, and I don't know that there's a right answer or wrong answer. It's just kind of feeling where your groove is, and that can change from year to year.
Yeah, it can always change, and it's a good conversation to have limits and not letting some weird person judge you for you went to this place and you didn't do that, so therefore you didn't go or you didn't
Which
experience it. Just live your
was a
life. Like I said,
big
I struggle
problem.
with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like going to theme park. If I go to a place and just go to a theme park, why and I don't see anything else, is that a bad thing? Well, who's the person telling me it's a bad thing? Is it a voice in my head? Who's causing the voice in my head? Like it's all this weird thing. It's like if I had fun and I did good, who cares? Whatever else I did. And there's people who have literally just connected in an airport that are saying they visited that state or that country. It's
Doesn't count.
okay. It's
Doesn't count.
okay.
No, doesn't count.
For them, if it counts, it counts. Let them.
Yeah, I don't care,
Come
but
on.
it doesn't count.
No,
You
it
can
doesn't
tell
count
yourself
for
it
me,
counts, but it
but
doesn't count.
Aruba, that's my only. I'm still counting Aruba. It's the only one. On my
You
lame
just got to
claim
go
to
outside.
fame.
You leave security, you step outside, you chew a piece of gum, you go back in. I guess that counts. But if you're in the airport, I don't
I
think
had
it
an
counts.
emergency landing. I think that counts. An emergency landing, even if you don't get off the plane, it counts for that. But let us know what you guys think about these topics. Your favorite bucket list. Have you achieved the bucket list items as a kid? Are you doing it now as an adult? Are you doing it for your kids? The status match stuff. No good deed goes unpunished. Isn't that so true? Leave a comment. We do a new show every Monday. We also have MTM Vegas on Tuesdays and Fridays for all of the latest Vegas stuff. Lots of laughs. Even if you don't like Vegas, watch us. It's a lot of fun.
I'm just glad I cut that thing off and didn't break anything. I'm impressed with myself.
Very well done. I would have broken it. I will say that. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Talk to you guys next time.
Have a good week, everybody.
I probably would have busted up my finger, been bleeding. It would have
I
been
was just
ugly.
waiting for the back windshield to crack and be like, oh, okay, cool. We're basically going to spend all the money we're going to make from this car fixing it.